Silent night, deadly night. All is calm, but not all is right. Let's get started. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Hello, homies. Welcome back to Oktoberfest here on Thumb Together, and we are diving into the second category of this very wonderfully spooky Halloween season. We're diving into the category of obscure gems. These are obscure gems that I love, and I want you to love. Maybe you've heard of them. If you have, great. If you haven't, you're in for a treat, because you're going to hear about some stuff you didn't even know existed. And that's always fun. Today we're going to be talking about a little movie called Black Christmas. And Black Christmas has a lot of stuff going for it, a lot of interesting tidbits of trivia that I think is really worth knowing. First and foremost, did you know Black Christmas is a Canadian movie? That's right. Represent. Black Christmas came out in 1974, and it tells the story of a group of girls who live in a sorority house at a pretty prestigious college, I would imagine, because that sorority house is pretty nice. It's nicer than any house I've lived in. And one by one, these girls are being picked off by a mysterious killer who has climbed into the attic of their sorority house and is now just skulking around the home, murdering anybody who comes across his path. If this sounds like every slasher film you've ever seen, that's because it is, but Black Christmas was, as far as my knowledge takes me, the first slasher film to adhere to this formula. That's right. Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, others, they all owe what they have to Black Christmas. This little Canadian film started the slasher genre, folks. And you thought we were just a bunch of nice maple syrup guzzling hockey players. Well, the joke's on you. Merry Christmas. And that's it. That's plain and simple the plot of Black Christmas. It's a very straightforward slasher movie. It was directed by Bob Clark, who you might know for directing another holiday-centric movie. Bob Clark directed this. Yeah, so every time you watch this and it charms the pants off of you, don't forget that the guy behind the camera also made a movie about sorority girls getting suffocated by plastic bags and their bodies left to rot in the attic of their home. Yikes. In all honesty, this is probably one of the most well-known and famous movies that I'm going to be talking about during my Obscure Gems section of Oktoberfest, but it's still, I think, obscure enough that not a lot of people really know exactly how important it is to the genre. Slasher movies have been all the rage now since pretty much the late 70s, and most teenagers who love to go out and experience horror movies, they love the slasher films. But guess what? Teenagers nowadays, they don't really know the history of it, so there you go. If you're a teenager watching this, there's a little history for you. But apart from setting trends, Black Christmas actually also followed a already established trend, and that's the whole trend of the helpless babysitter quasi-character who's sitting at home getting crank calls from a terrifying voice only to be told that, hey, those calls are coming from inside the house. That cliche, that urban legend, was around for a long time, but the people who made this movie wanted to base their story around that urban legend. So aside from setting the trends, Black Christmas also wanted to give props to the scary story trends that came before. It's all cyclical, honey. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Just like Christmas itself. Booyah. I'm gonna spoil the ending, so don't hate me. But I love what the end of Black Christmas does because, yes, it sets itself up as this murder mystery where you're trying to figure out who this guy is who's running around killing all these girls. And there are a few suspects in the film that you start pointing fingers at. But guess what? By the end of the movie, it turns out you still don't know who the killer is. The killer is just some random person whose face you don't see. You see some close-ups of his eye every now and then, and like the back of his head, but you never find out his identity, and that to me is a whole lot scarier than just, pulling off a mask and finding out it's that girl's boyfriend, the jerky one who plays piano. This was a million times creepier, because this tells me it's not some guy who's involved in the lives of the girls. This is just some psychopath wandering around who came from God knows where, who climbed into their home and just started picking them off one by one. And when this guy crank calls the house, he's speaking weird gibberish that oddly makes sense. And if you pay attention to the gibberish, there's a little bit of backstory to that. There's a little bit of, not clues, but just pieces, fragments of his identity, of his real story, hidden in that gibberish but that's something you kind of have to unpack and assemble yourself like a jigsaw puzzle. I like that the movie doesn't spell that out for you. I think that that was really forward-thinking writing, for 1974 anyway. The movie was well-liked enough that eventually they made a remake. The remake came out in 2006. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I saw the remake too. Not a fan. Not a fan at all. My biggest celebrity crush on the planet is in it. Lacey Chabert, Gretchen Wieners herself, is in Black Christmas. And even though she is all kinds of gorgeous, she still does not save this movie from being kind of dumb. The 2006 remake tries to tell the story of the killer, whose name we find out is Billy. It tries to tell an origin story that is deeply disturbing about why Billy is the way he is, and gives us a little bit of motivation for the character. And it's interesting, and you know what? I will give them credit for trying that. I will give them credit for trying to piece this together using the clues that the first movie gave you. I think that that was an admirable attempt, but it fell short. It really fell short. I didn't care about any of these characters. They were very annoying characters. These girls, they weren't, you know, they didn't have the sort of life that the original girls had. I didn't really care about these ones. Even Lacey Chabert. Sorry, Lacey. I wanted to see you live because it's you. But, nah. Guess what? There's another remake coming out this year, in fact. December 2019, we are going to see our second attempt at remaking Black Christmas. It's going to star Imogen Poots and Carrie Elwes. Frankly, I don't care. I'm probably not gonna see this. I don't know. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. If I do, I'll review it on the channel. I don't think that they're going to have much to say that the other two movies haven't already said. I hope the movie does well, because I don't want to wish bad karma on any movie. I hope everybody's hard work pays off. But here's the thing, guys. This Black Christmas remake is coming out 1 week before Star Wars. So, good luck. All kidding aside, the idea of a horrific event happening around Christmas time is something really interesting. It's something that I think a lot of people enjoy. I will say the original Black Christmas, if there's one thing it didn't really do well, as far as I'm concerned, is it didn't put me in the mood of Christmas time. It didn't make me feel the sort of Christmas spirit enveloping everything. And I think if it had, it would have been that much more powerful. So who knows, maybe this 2019 version will do that. Maybe it'll correct everything that needs correcting and we'll walk away with the perfect version of Black Christmas. But I highly doubt it. But if you're a fan of the slasher genre and you have not watched Black Christmas yet, check it out. You owe it to yourself. It's a piece of history. It's a piece of horror and slasher history, and it's a piece of film history. This is just one of those movies that's too important to skip. Anyway, that's Black Christmas. My name is Andrew Fantasia. Oktoberfest is rip-rolling ahead. I'll see you here very shortly. Until then, adios.